Welcome to the definitive guide to success after iOS 14. If your ads are still dying after a couple of days or a couple of weeks and you don't have a system and process for repeatable, scalable results, and you're still worried about attribution or measurement in a way that relies on giving credit to specific platforms and trying to scale off of nonsense metrics like ROAS or MER or CTR or CPC or CPM or any of these other nonsense metrics, and you want to be successful and scalable and have confidence in your success in the next year, 2 years, 3 years, 5 years, 10 years of your career, this is everything that you need to know. Let's get down to the bottom of it right here. Success after iOS 14. Let's go. First off, I just want to say thank you. I know you could be literally anywhere on the internet right now, and I really appreciate that you're here, and I'm going to make the absolute best effort I possibly can to make it as most of help to you. That being said, I really appreciate it. Go ahead and subscribe, hit like if you like things, and feel free to ask any questions you have in the comments below. Let's get started. So, first thing, creative testing. Now, I want to kind of break a little bit of a myth and debunk some stuff here. First off, the ads do the targeting. In every optimized CPM environment, this isn't up for debate. Your content does your targeting. Facebook and TikTok and YouTube, and to a lesser extent, Pinterest and Snapchat, what you see is curated to give you an experience that you like to keep you on the platform and keep you coming back. Because of this, your ads, your content is shown to the people who are going to have the most positive experience on the platform when they see it. The average person swipes the height of the Eiffel Tower on a daily basis. Your job is to stop that scroll and give them an experience that it will make them want to come back to Facebook again, or to Instagram, or any other platform you're advertising on. So that being said, your creative, your ads, your copy, do all of the targeting work. You want to target dog owners? Make an ad that says, "Are you a dog owner?" Because remember, interest groups are trash. 1/3 of the people in that interest group shouldn't be in there anyway, and half the people in that interest group don't feel positively about what you're saying. So 2/3 of every dollar you're going to be using aren't going to anybody that actually wants to see what you're saying. So you're wasting 2/3 of every dollar actually providing negative impressions and bad experiences to people. So if you're not doing broad targeting, letting your ads conduct the customer journey for you, you are setting yourself up to fail. That is not really an opinion. That's just what's going on. There's a reason why your CPMs might be over $15, $20, $30. And it's because you're not giving the platform the priority to say to your business partner, "I respect your needs, and we are going to work together to give you exactly what you need in a way that is best for my business." Now, the way that we actually do that inside of Facebook is prioritizing the customer experience and ultimately giving the users the best content that they want to see so that Facebook can show it to the right people so that they can enjoy their experience. Now, in Facebook, the way they measure that is what's called estimated action rate. And what you pay in the auction is your bid and your budget and your estimated action rate. So what you are paying to get that sale or that lead is extraordinarily dependent on how likely people are to respond positively to your content. The more content you have that people respond negatively to, the more you're going to pay to even show your content to anybody, because you, if you don't care about the end user experience, are a liability to Facebook's business objective. Basically, you're in a partnership, and every time you pick up the phone or have a conversation with your business partner, you give them the finger and demand money. That's not a relationship that will work out well for you. Facebook is an experiential demand and intent creation device using market research to prime and condition people to take specific actions. It is not a demand or inventory-based platform like search or email or display, where you don't have the ability of curating a relationship. Because of that, we have to let go of the strategies that are working for search, email, or display, like funnels or interest groups or affinity audiences, where interest groups come from. All of these distractions to your success are liabilities to your long-term growth. What we need to do is ultimately understand with our customers and our users and our audience, what is it that they want to see so that we can make ourselves the best business partner to Facebook at large. Now, that being said, there is an extremely valuable tool at Facebook that objectively there is no better option at doing this at scale. It's called dynamic creative. Now, you see a lot of people fight against the idea of using dynamic creative. And to be completely honest, it's because they are wrong about how they want to approach Facebook. Flat out. If you are making specific posts to guess what users want to see, to force your opinion on complete strangers, you are going to lose to the person that uses dynamic creative. And when you are using dynamic creative properly, what you are doing is you are taking validated elements, copy that works, creative that people want to see, headlines that drive engagement or actions. And you're giving the system, Facebook, the option of putting them together in any way that allows the algorithm to understand and give the end user an experience that they want to have. The point here is you can put together, say, 20 different ads. Let's be easy. Let's say 12. You can build 12 ads, all of which, remember, every ad is a post ID. Every post ID is its own web page. So that's like 12 little folders on your computer, and every impression goes into one of those folders. All that data is separated. Now, Facebook's most likely to spend the majority of that budget on whoever did well in the first couple hundred impressions, especially if they're all of those ads are in the same ad set. And if they're not in the same ad set, maybe you're doing the other thing of giving them all even spend to give them a fair chance with ABO. You are basically saying, I am okay with maybe one of these ads is good. I'm going to spend 11 times as much making bad experiences for my end customer because ultimately I think I can have the one win pay off 11 losses and then make me profit. That is a bad idea. That does not work at scale. And the more that you do that, you can say, well, I can overcome that because I can build 15 ads and I can do 20 and I can do 30 and I can do 40. How many people do you see talking about this? And what they're doing is they are making more and more and more variations to stay ahead of the rising CPMs because they are becoming the only way to overcome this issue of being a very disrespectful business partner to Facebook is to disrespect it at a pace that it can't keep up with. But that forces you to generate more and more variations. Now, here's the problem. Every single one of those ads is its own web page. Facebook is measuring the bounce rate, the click-through rate, the estimated action rate, the stickiness, how likely somebody is to like that web page. Every post in your feed is a web page. Think of the Facebook feed as a Google search result, but instead of you going into Google and saying, this is what I want to see, in Facebook, you hit refresh and it shows you what you want to see based off of potentially over a decade and trillions of data points to understand what you want to see right now. Or you could use dynamic creative, where you say, put in 3 creatives and 2 headlines and 2 sets of copy, where that dynamic creative can make 12 variations, but those 12 variations all live in one folder. So instead of having 12 different salespeople all running off into the wilderness, never communicating with each other, competing with each other to ultimately drive an end result, instead, you could have all of them working together to deliver a positive result. You could have all of the data be compounding instead of competing. Now, there's no real legitimate argument to say that what we want to do is to have a bunch of competing options, the majority of them bad, all trying to compete with each other to spend money and ultimately create a negative relationship with our platform so that we can show our business partner that we don't respect them, and hopefully that's going to make us money. However, if you're building post IDs and running them in individual ad sets or against each other, against various audiences even. That's exactly what you're doing. And that is why your results are unstable. That is why your ads are dying quickly. That is why your CPMs are rising. And that is why you are struggling, especially with optimizing what happens after the click, with landing page conversions and everything else that occurs afterwards, including email, search, customer service. So ultimately, the point here is when we use dynamic creatives with validated elements to work on the estimated action rate, allowing Facebook to optimize towards what people want to see instead of what we selfishly want to force onto people, we align our objectives with Facebook's objectives. And when you have alignment with your business partners, you are far, far more likely to succeed. Instead of saying every single day, I don't care about you. Here's the finger. Give me money. And when you fail, it won't be Facebook's fault. So my point here that I ultimately want to get to end with this is use dynamic creative at a broad audience, age, gender, location. And what that allows you to do is ultimately spend the least amount of money to reach the most amount of people, to give the platform the best opportunity, to give the best user experience to all of your potential customers, to ultimately drive the greatest amount of incremental lift through your entire user experience, whether or not Facebook is the last thing they clicked on. And the more you lean into that, the cheaper your advertising is going to be, the lower your cost is going to be to ultimately reach X amount of people, the more stable and scalable and projectable your results are going to be. Plus, you don't have to work nearly as hard. And when you're getting incremental lift across multiple channels, and we're going to talk about that in just a minute. When you stop focusing on who gets credit and stupid arguments like attribution, which is basically a 2 decades old lie and sales pitch, actually it's almost 30 years old, sales pitch from folks that didn't understand what Facebook was or email or search or at that time what digital marketing was at all. When you get out of that used car salesman sales pitch lingo, you can start making really good results instead of prioritizing trying to look smart and make Facebook look good. And at the end of the day, isn't that what we're all hoping for? Long-term success with stable, projectable results that actually requires far less work to make ourselves a much better business partner to all of the efforts that we have. That's point number 1. Point number 2 in success after iOS 14 is really measuring for incremental lift and focusing on PSM. So we're going to focus on these 2 parts here. So number 1, incremental lift. Let's debunk the idea of attribution. Number 1, attribution is a lie. Bottom line, there is no way that you could realistically say that all of your customers behave in the same way. There is no way that you can say one ad takes credit for the sale. That's nonsense. There's no way that you can say, well, this ad did everything. This search thing did everything. That does not actually match the way users do anything, the way that any person behaves. You might buy because of a certain string of impressions and conversations and exposure to marketing materials that I might never have. We might buy the same thing, but the attribution of who gets credit for the sale has nothing to do with the audience or the ad that drove the result. Those are the things that are lucky enough in that false equivalency used car salesman thinking to be the last touch point. So we have to ultimately move away from this nearly 3-decade-old lie, and again, sales pitch from people that didn't understand what they were doing, and start to move into a concept of incremental lift. When I do the job well, and I have the best relationship I can with my partner, and I invest more with that partner, do I get a return above and beyond my investment? If the answer is yes, great. If the answer is no, then you have work to do. Now, one of the biggest things that we have to focus here is this is why interest groups and lookalikes don't matter. This is why retargeting is actually a really big liability when you start to really move accounts. This is why broad audiences is actually the only thing you probably need until you're spending $10, $20, $30, $40, $50,000 a day. And it's because of this simple concept. The more people that you can reach with ads that, again, you've qualified that people want to see, the more customer journeys that you can begin or curate. Now, those people might come to your site because of organic social. They might come to your site because of an email. They might come to your site because a friend told them about something. They might come to your site because of search or a million other things that your Google Analytics is telling you actually matters. None of those things actually matter. What really matters is how many of those journeys can you start and how cheaply and effectively can you start them? And more importantly, how similar are they all? So that you can work on the quality and the quantity of them because they're so similar. And what that allows you to do is understand after the click, how to optimize the conversion rate, how to improve your email open rates, how to improve LTV and customer service. Because if you're driving 20 different types of people into your store, that is legitimately 20 times or more difficult to optimize for than one type of customer. The bottom line is, unless you're spending $1 million a month or more, you probably don't need to really appeal to more than 2 or 3 types of people. There are quite literally millions of individuals that you can probably sell your product to in America, or in smaller countries it might be a little bit less, but more than enough for the amount of money that you're spending. And if you just focus on getting those people more efficiently and getting a higher volume of higher quality folks that are like that by working on your ads, what you're going to see is greater amount of search volume. Your email open rates are going to go up. Your direct from social is going to go up. Your direct organic is going to go up. Why? Because you're reaching more people with content that they want to see that's specifically designed to curate a customer journey that ultimately primes and conditions them to take an action. It has very little to do with what ad was lucky enough at the last point to get somebody across the finish line. Again, that's why UTMs, attribution, ad sets, ads, who gets credit is nonsense. Now, you can be successful running things like that. You can do a bad job and still make money. But you can do a good job and make way more money working a lot less and be way less reliant on everybody else on the team who you're kind of, taking a dump on, empowering them instead of inhibiting them. Teamwork is way more effective than trying to take credit for the work that everybody else is doing, which when you are running these smaller audiences, when you are running retargeting, when you are trying to complicate things, your success is specifically built on the back of other people's work, and you're trying to take credit for that work to validate your own efforts. Now, that might not be the way that you think about it, but if you legitimately think that your interest group with that ad is the reason that that sale occurred, and that's a scalable solution en masse, and that has nothing to do with the inability for your landing page team to improve LTV and the conversion rate also through all of the email funnels, if you don't think that your effort to make your reporting look better doesn't hurt everybody else, maybe it's time to go back and rewatch some of this. Because remember, what matters most is the highest volume of highest quality people to generate what we call incremental lift across a successful business model. Ultimately, Facebook shouldn't be your source of sales. Facebook is the thing that amplifies everything else. And if it amplifies everything else, then when we try to optimize it to take credit for everybody else's work, we're undermining everybody else, not amplifying them. We're like that manager who takes credit for every idea that their team presents to them. You didn't do that. And one of the ways that we can tell for sure that you didn't is what happens when people just stop running all those other things. Your results are going to get worse. And when you start to really embrace incremental lift, running it broad with dynamic creatives, working on estimated action rate to really improve the customer journey, when you turn your ads off, everybody else is going to get worse because you're amplifying their efforts, not stealing from them. Now, the other part in here that we talked about is PSM. And I want to touch base on that really quickly for a second. PSM is profitable scaling margin. Basically, how much money can you make off of the customer journey for a specific product or offer? Now, a lot of you are, with your best efforts, probably promoting 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 10 different products. That's a mistake. If you're promoting more than one product, I really hope you are spending thousands of dollars a day. Here's the problem. In PSM, profitable scaling margin, we are looking at the lifetime value of the customer divided by how much it costs to acquire them and how much it costs to get that product into their hands. That's ultimately the total margin on that customer. Now, you might get a ROAS of a 5 on some sale. But if that product costs a lot to make and the LTV wasn't that much better than your cost per sale and the cost to make it, that 5x ROAS might mean that you lost 10 cents. Let me give you an extreme example. I was running lead gen for Nissan to do the alpha for the lead gen ad unit. It cost me maybe $50 to get somebody to go into a sale, to go into a test drive for Nissan Sentra, $25,000 car. Now, the conversion rate on that was pretty good. If you're taking a test drive of that car, more than half of the people are buying it. So let's just say half of the people bought it. Well, my Facebook ROAS would be a 250. Does that sound reasonable? No. But if 1 out of 2 leads drives the sale of a $25,000 vehicle, my Facebook ROAS is a 250, and that's what you're saying all the time. So my point is, instead of trying to focus on the best ROAS of everything, understand the profit margin per sale. I'll give one other example about this. Alcohol delivery-based brand here out of LA, they had a Facebook rep, guru expert guy, running their Facebook ad account, and they could not scale past about $400 or $500 a day. And they were getting a 3, 4, 5x ROAS on it, and they were stoked, doing deliveries to Los Angeles and San Francisco. Good for them. When we started focusing on PSM, incremental lift, what we call ecosystem ROAS, and really optimizing our creatives to be good partners to Facebook, we pivoted from trying to make Facebook look good to getting a $20 to $30 profit per customer. When we did that, we could raise our spend from $400 or $500 a day to $3,000 to $4,000 a day. What do you think happened to the cash flow of that business when we were able to 6 to 10x daily spend and profit on every single one of those customers? What do you think happened to their bottom line? What do you think happened to their month-over-month profit margins? Now, some days our Facebook ROAS looked like a 4. Some days it looked like a 0.4. But I didn't care because we weren't worried about taking credit. Ultimately, we concerned ourselves with making money by being a team player. And what that looked like more than anything was we figured out what offer could we get a sale for and deliver to the customer with the largest margin between that front end and the LTV of the customer. We looked at, well, this offer, we might break even, but we know somebody's likely to buy 2 or 3 times after that. So we can 3x our money if we break even selling this because that's how much that LTV is worth. That's a 1x ROAS for a 3x return. That's how you start to make money. We didn't care about ROAS or MER because, look, those numbers don't mean anything. And if you feel like they do, let me ask you a question. If you run an email campaign on Black Friday sale and your Facebook ROAS comes in at a 10, does that mean you did a good job? The answer is no. Think about it. Now, the last thing I want to cover today is something that's really important. But I just want to say, if you're still here watching this, go ahead, give a like. It means the world to me. and subscribe and tell your friends. Now, the last thing we want to focus in on here is repeatable and scalable systems and process. If your business does not have a simple step-by-step execution for onboarding and success of your clients that can be executed by any person at that level in your business, any media buyer in your business can step into any account and execute anything that needs to be done because all the systems and process are the exact same. You don't have a system to scale. You have a system set up to fail. When I take people to, for instance, my Facebook Ads MBA program, for that program is the system and process for accountability, transparency, and ultimately making it easy for any person to execute any task for any client, because none of this stuff is rocket science. The point I'm trying to get to here is you need to document every single piece of what's going on. You need to understand what's happening. And the bottom line is Facebook marketers, especially people that came in around 2017, 2018, 2019, the gurus and experts running agencies and all sorts of stuff, they never learned how to actually advertise or run marketing. They were the person lucky enough to hit buttons when basically all you had to do was exist. And there's many reasons for that. Yes, Facebook was cheaper, but also the economy was a lot better. And there was way less competition in the space. When there's way more money to go around and way less competition for those people to spend it, way easier to sell things. Now that we have to actually be marketers and understand advertising, and it requires somebody to do something other than trying to look good and boost their ego by taking credit for everybody else's work, we're seeing people struggle left, right, and center, and it's not necessarily their fault. They were poorly trained by people that didn't know what they were doing, and they're probably really underpaid and overworked while doing it. So if you want to see success for your agency, for your business, for your efforts, you need to create a system and process for repeatable and scalable results. If you don't have that down every step of the way, then you have a really pressing need for your business right now. If you don't have the ability to understand and manage for what's going to happen next week, next month, and you don't have the redundancy built in to basically have anybody that's capable of doing the work to execute the work at the drop of a hat, you are absolutely on the razor's edge of abject failure. And when you make a system and process that works, you can apply it to anybody. The application of that system and process for success ultimately means that you can find the people that work well with you, and success becomes a when, not an if. And if you're not in that situation where you have that level of confidence, then I highly suggest that you take an effort to build one or invest in one. That's one of the reasons my Facebook Ads MBA program has been so successful for people, is because that is the core of what we get to. So that being said, I really hope you enjoyed this stuff. Once again, if you're still here, go ahead, ask me questions, subscribe. YouTube thinks you might like some of this stuff. Smash that button there. And if you want to know more about the Facebook Ads MBA program, go to submit.facebookdisruptor.com, and I'll see you on the internet.